So here's a motivational musing moment on a Monday. How's that for a lovely alliteration to start off with? I have a question for you. I just came off a webinar a little while ago, and something happened on there that really stopped me in my track, in my heart, and I want to share that with you, share that story with you now. But let me ask you this question first. What's holding you back? What's holding you back from going big in life? You know, from really shooting for the stars, as it were. What's holding you in that place of playing small in your relationships, playing small in your health and wellness, maybe your exercise regime, playing small in terms of your vision for your life, playing small in terms of your business, going to that next level, taking that promotion, taking that new job, setting a goal for yourself that stretches you, doesn't break you, but stretches you. What's holding you back? Is it the fear of failure, the fear of success maybe? Because they're two sides of the same coin, right? Is that sense of unworthiness, or that maybe people will laugh at me, or people won't like me if I speak out, if I speak up and I stand for something? What's holding you back? And the story that I want to share with you today is I was on a webinar with a guy who really knows his subject. He's a very highly qualified person. He speaks eloquently. He's great in terms of his subject matter and what he was talking about, and he poured his heart out in terms of this webinar for whatever it was, an hour. And at the end of that webinar, there were some Q&As, etc. And someone put up in the comments at the end. Now, everyone was enjoying the webinar. There was great feedback, but someone put up in the comments, it's sort of not really random, but it was a random comment from them, not really thinking about it, I suppose, just saying, well, this really wasn't very exciting, but thanks anyway. And I actually watched the guy's body language. I went back on it. It was a recording, and I went back on it, and I watched his body language. And then he indicated in response to this comment of how that it impacted him. You know, maybe 5 years ago it would have completely derailed him, but I could still see emotionally. He said, you know, it almost felt like crying. You know. How would you respond to something like that? Maybe you're a speaker, a coach, a trainer in a particular area, a particular discipline. Maybe you're presenting to peers and above in terms of corporate, maybe on finances or operations or sales or marketing, etc. Maybe you present your whole thing, and then someone at the end just said, well, this wasn't very exciting, but thanks anyway. How do you respond? You know, how do you react? How does that make your heart feel even in this moment? And I want to say this to you as someone who is actually speaking on this subject matter a lot in terms of esteem, low self-esteem and other areas of this, to corporates, to coaching clients, etc. Coming out of it for myself, working through my own insecurities over the years, where I changed profession into something completely new. Where I went from this pharmacist, where I knew what I was really kind of doing, standing behind the counter, had my degree, etc., going into speaking and coaching and training, which was something new for me, and having to deal with all those insecurities. I felt his pain in that moment. I felt his pain. Maybe you feel that pain, or maybe you say, no, well, that's water of a duck's back. It doesn't matter to me. Well, then you're in one of the sort of top echelons of not worrying about what other people think about you, and yeah, good as to you, well done. But for most of us, I think that really does impact us. And maybe it's that fear of what people will think of me, and am I capable? Am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I adding value? Maybe everybody just knows about this. Maybe this isn't exciting after all. A lot of that comes down to your perspective. The perspective between, am I getting my value and my worth from my actions, in other words, my capabilities of what I'm doing, my doingness, or am I getting my value from my identity, my beingness, is what I like to say. See, they can't take that away from you. Nobody can take that identity away from you if you don't relinquish it, of who you truly are. And that's why, when we often talk about goal setting, that one of the most important aspects of goal setting and goal achieving is the who you are becoming on the way to achieving that goal. It's critical, folks. It's critical. Personal growth doesn't just happen. It happens by intention. John Maxwell, one of my mentors, talks about this in his 15 laws of personal growth. In fact, it's the first law, the law of intentionality. He says personal growth doesn't just happen. You don't just kind of fall off a log and then you're in personal growth and you've all of a sudden just grown. No, it takes intention. It takes intention. And it's so important because in these moments, in the moments when you're doubting yourself and you're afraid to step out and to take that first step and become that author, or become that speaker, or become that poet, or become a parent, or go into that relationship, or go for that, to train for that marathon, or what, because you feel that sense of, but what if? What if this doesn't work out? What if people think I'm a fraud? What if people think I'm a phony? What if people think, well, flip, that's not rocket science. Anybody could have said that. Anybody could have done that. You feel my pain? You feel my pain as I'm sharing this with you? If that's you, I just want to really ask you to kind of get back in the sandpit. Because you think about it as kids, how we were ruthless with our dreams. we weren't worried about failing and making mistakes. We were shooting for the stars. We had that childlike faith. And I want you to kind of get back in the sandpit and say, well, you know what? I mean, I know who I am. And if I don't know who I am, work on that. You'll know that. You'll know that as I'm speaking to you, because it's all foundational. Or everything's foundational. Is the identity is foundational to where you're building your house. So where have you been building on? Have you been building on a faulty foundation? Well, you'll know it. You'll know it when people confront you, or if you're a speaker, and I've done this for a few decades now. If you've ever spoken and then looked out of the crowd, and maybe you see somebody yawning, or maybe you see somebody that's on their cell phone, or maybe you see somebody talking to their friend and giggling, and you think, are they talking about me? Are they laughing at me? Are they laughing at what I said? Did I say something wrong, or whatever? And you go through that process over months, maybe years, before you come to that place of absolute sense of, I'm okay. I am very powerful words. I am my image. I am. And you can feel secure in that, in your worthiness, in who you are, in your beingness. I hope this encourages you today to engage on that personal growth journey if you're not already. If you want to know about what we do in our new wine coaching and mentoring community, then just send me a DM and I'll tell you more about that. But whatever you do, whether it's reading a book or attending a seminar, listening to a CD, whatever, you've got to do it intentionally, folks. It doesn't happen by default. What happens by default is nothingness. I see that hand. Until that hand, God bless. This has been Sean. Cheers.